How many of you have written an essay about why we should get rid of homework? I'm sure many, if not all of you have. And I think that's because we have a common hatred for it. It's not only tedious, unfulfilling, and often you don't use it more than once during class. You can spend hours studying or working on some project, but you don't receive the benefits of doing so. We haven't got to high school, so our workload hasn't gotten super big, but sometimes it's gotten pretty bad. I had all these assignments, plus the ones you can't see below. Each one was relatively short, but they were boring, tedious, and they weren't the best for teaching what I needed to learn. I'm embarrassed to say this, but if you were to ask me what I learned in this topic, I could only give you very basic information. This is the thing that showed me how much homework could be improved. I know it's difficult to accept, but homework's gonna be with us forever. It's been around since ancient Greece, and I think it's gonna stay that way. There are benefits to doing it, though they do have their limitations, but we'll get into that later. Let's see what history has to say about homework. Homework can be dated all the way back to ancient Greece, where Pliny the Younger, a teacher circa 100 AD, asked his followers to participate in at-home activities. These activities were so successful that people he knew started to use them. In 1905, Roberto Novellis was the first teacher to assign homework that we know today. He used it to punish lazy students, and it would make sure that they learned the material. So is that it? If we've been using this type of assignment since ancient Greece, and if people have been assigned homework since the 1900s, it would seem like it's perfect the way it is now, right? Well, not exactly. You see, in ancient Greece, Pliny asked his followers to practice public speaking, which isn't at all like filling out notes or a packet. And in the early 1900s, though they did have similar assignments, it is very likely that their workload was vastly different from ours. As you can see in this graph, in the 1800s and 1900s, kids were only being taught very basic information, and it wasn't as complicated as what they're teaching today. It is also important to note that many kids never actually got through high school, like in this graph, how it shows how many children weren't enrolled in high school or middle school. And that at the time, homework was very controversial, and many adults actually thought that it was harmful for their kids. Maybe the facts can provide a little more insight on if homework is good or bad. To my surprise, there have been no studies that have proven any connection to students doing homework and higher test scores, at least in grades kindergarten through 7th grade. Furthermore, the connection in high school and late middle school plateaus, meaning after around 90 minutes, it does more hurt than it does help. And as you know, homework brings stress, sometimes a lot and sometimes a little. We all have our moments where we're complaining, sometimes crying, but whatever the case, I'm sure we can all agree that it's stressful. We haven't even seen the workload in high school, and I'm sure you can imagine that it sounds terrible, and I've heard from my sisters and brothers is that it is. So not only does homework take up our time, give us stress, but though it may not be the only reason, studies show it can be a big factor into why 20% of teens have depression. So why do we even do homework in the first place? Well, some people argue that even though it doesn't benefit us academically early on in life, it can teach us life lessons, like try your best or not to procrastinate. Because as Nora said 2 days ago, nobody does that. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is, even though homework may feel pointless, there are reasons for us to do them, and I'm not here to advocate against them. But I do think that there are many ways that we can improve them. In the story I told earlier, I had 10 to 12 assignments due that week assigned by one teacher. Though they said that next week would be more relaxed, it wasn't, and I was miserable. And that's just one example of why Assignments should be kept short, and the workload should be too. If it's too big, the quality of work will decrease and it won't be beneficial for anyone. Even though in this pandemic, students and teachers are often more than 10 miles apart, the second best way to improve homework is to make the assignments in class less just copy and pasting information. I feel like assignments in school has just become homework with extra steps. If we make assignments in school that allow students to interact with each other and the teacher more, it would help them learn the topic better and apply it in their homework when they need to. I think that many assignments are kind of like trash. Now, I don't mean they're badly made, though a lot of them are, but rather how food becomes trash the moment you put it in the garbage. Many of the assignments, whether that be a quiz, some notes, or a study guide, are only ever used once. So what's the point of doing it at all? When you start using material more than once, it helps students retain it and give homework more purpose. Some things will never be fun, and oftentimes are just work. There's no way to make them fun enough where you can do them every day and not get tired of them. So though we can't get rid of them, we can find ways to improve them and make them bearable. So to the teachers who are watching this now, I know you don't have to, but I hope you take these things into account and consider changing your assignments based on the guidelines I put in the list above. Because the year is coming to a close, this message goes out to all my teachers. It feels like we're closer now. Student and teacher, designer and user. It means a lot to me that you've come this far, endured this much. Every wisecrack you've forgiven us is a kingly gift that you've given us. Now, we've done the statements, the research, the script, and the video, social studies, and watched their videos, our science class, and all the tests. We have learned to, learn. And now there's nowhere left to go but up. And in a moment, I'll shut up. But let me tell you, I'm glad you came.